Hi, everybody. Welcome to Purple Goddess Tarot Tuesday. Every week we get a chance to take a look at a tarot card. And the tarot, by the way, is making a big comeback in our culture. And it's full of ancient symbols that help us figure out what energies we might be going through. So feel free to share this video with someone that you think it might resonate with you. And I love it when you comment on how it might resonate with you as well. So last week we pulled a card from the Suit of Wands, and Wands is about our spirit and our will, and it was the Two of Wands. One wand was kind of our past and firmly behind us. The other was kind of a new wand, looking out in a new direction. Maybe we're holding on to some kind of new idea. And in one hand on that card last week, the person was holding the globe, the world. How do we get to live in the world in our fullness and grab always onto something kind of new that might continue to help us develop and grow to be all that we can be? So today we have a very interesting card. It's from the Major Arcana. And when you pull this card in a traditional tarot reading, the reader is going to say, you know what? You are not going to die. You're going to be reborn because you have pulled the Death card. Now, this is a very, very interesting and difficult card to look at in the beginning, but we're going to find some really good and special meaning for you today. So let's just talk about death for a moment. We all go through death moments in our life, and sometimes those death moments are really, really hard. And we do know that we can be reborn, but they're difficult things to go through. So if you've ever had a separation from a loved one and a divorce, this is a terrible death that sometimes we have to go through in life, isn't it? You just think your world is falling apart. And then there's, when you physically lose somebody to death. I had the horrible experience of, 7 years ago losing my husband after a beautiful 25-year marriage. And there's nothing in our culture that really prepares you for the death of a loved one, especially when they're at a young age. And again, you think your life is just it is falling apart, and because you're dealing with death. And we don't deal with death very well in our culture. We don't talk about it, and we certainly don't know how to help people go through something like that. There are other kind of deaths too. You could be pregnant and really excited about having a baby, and then that baby is lost through a miscarriage, and that's the death of a new life, of a life that you never knew. So there are many situations in our life where we go through death, but the thing to remember always is that there is a new life that can happen as a result of death. So let's have a look at this card. We do have a skeleton on a horse. So if you're going through kind of a death moment right now or something really difficult, this might be you, where you're just feeling like, oh my gosh, everything's just crumbling down. I don't know how I'm going to carry on here. I'm going through this terrible death kind of situation. And you're hanging on. You're hanging on to the reins here, and there's skull and crossbones on the reins. And inside, you have kind of fallen on the ground. And here we have a king. And this is a metaphor for what happens when we go through death experiences. Our ego gets thrown off the horse on the ground. We've got no defenses, at least we don't think we have any defenses. So that's one of the symbols here where our ego's kind of been flattened because we're going through a death experience. We've got two children here kind of looking on at this death figure. One is turning away because it's just too horrible to look at. The other one is kind of looking at this person with compassion and maybe thinking, all is not lost and there might be new life. And we have this figure of like a pope or a bishop clapping. And this is a positive side of the card, that no matter what we're going through, there's usually somebody kind of clapping us on, saying, you know what, you're going to get through this. I've been through, something similar, and I'll support you, and you're going to be fine. So when we go through death, it's always good to look for those people that are willing to clap us on and forward and saying, keep going, you're going to make it. And it also can represent our higher self, our spiritual self that does know at some level Even though we're going through something really dramatic and traumatic, we're going to get there. And many teachings on this card, and one of them is to hang on. And the white horse is a beautiful symbol. You know, white is about beginnings. And, you know, when you get married for the first time, you have to wear a white wedding dress. It's a new beginning. And so that horse is about strength. And there is strength underneath us when we're going through death, even if we can't quite understand it. There are people holding us up. There's part of our own self, our own inner courage, you know, that horse strong energy. So if this card is resonating with you right now, hang on, because you are sitting on, even if you're not aware of it, a lot of strength. And this card is about keep going. You know, there's a river flowing and, you know, boats going on this card, and it says you're going in the right direction. And sometimes we have to go through these death moments in order to initiate ourselves into something new, because on this card is sort of like, you know, a new sunrise over here. Paradise might be lost, but paradise can be regained. Now, here is some special teaching about this card. This is why I love the tarot. There are two kind of, not so hidden, but interesting symbols that pull us forward to the meaning of this card, which is about rebirth. One of them is that this person, even though they're a skeleton, barely hanging on, there is a red feather or red plume coming out of their helmet. And this reminds us that no matter how difficult the death situation is that we're going through, that our blood is still pulsing in us, and we still have passion, and we are going to be able to live again. And that red is a real dramatic sign of hope that, you know, when we go through this kind of transformation, we're going to be back in full-blooded and living our life again. The other magnificent thing about this card is the figure is holding a flag. And this flag is all about bringing in the harvest. There are 5 kind of symbols of grain on that flag, and they represent the harvest. So what a paradox that death and rebirth are, you know, part of life. And even though we're, you know, just thinking we're not going to make it through, we do at some level have the ability to carry a flag that invites us to bring in the harvest and the new life. So this is the death card again. It's associated with the sign of Scorpio. And so don't be afraid to change and grow. And even though your death moments are difficult and it's hard, the Reaper wishes to bring you the harvest. The Reaper wishes to bring you the harvest and wishes for you to be reborn. And for those of us that have survived, you know, the loss of a loved one and do, you know, find our way off that horse and into a new life, I hope that you can hang on to this card as not something that's just going to take you down, but rather something that's going to help you be reborn and have a whole new life. So blessed be everybody till we meet again next week. Take care. Bye for now.